So I think we have a great panel today. I got the opportunity to spend some time with some of these folks before the conference, and I think all of them have a pretty interesting take on where the market is and where it's going to go. Thought I'd do a quick little introduction and give you guys a little bit of history of myself and then ask you guys to introduce yourselves. So I'm Matt Booth. I run the interactive local media program at the Kelsey Group. I've been here about 5 years or so. So I run basically the local search business here along with a handful of other things. Before this, I was actually at a company called Interactive Corp, IAC. Spent 7 years there. One of the things that I actually was part of was I was part of the acquisition team for the entertainment book way back. Now, the entertainment book, for those of you who don't know what it is, at the time, it was the largest offline coupon business in the U.S. It had about 180,000 merchant locations, super profitable. We bought it from a company called Carlyle. The plan was to take that business and move it into a digital business. And what I'd say is a ton of the problems that we see today are virtually identical to the ones that we saw at the entertainment book. Very little has changed. I think the entertainment book has something like 750 sales and sales support. And I was amazingly stunned at how much sales process it took to sell a merchant a free coupon in the book. Spent a lot of time in a very dark room in Troy, Michigan, going through customer service reports. And I think a lot of the issues that are starting to crop up only recently with some of the pain points in merchants were just starting to kind of crop up. So a few of the pain points that I asked our research team to pull, these are virtually identical from the things we saw about 6 or 7 years ago. Number one, steep discounts off standard price. The big deal was how do you get a merchant to give this thing called a BOGO, which was buy one, get one free. This drove all consumer interaction across the board. The average redemptions out of the book was way over 20, which was absolutely stunning. But the piece that really made the difference when you talk to consumers was without the 50% off at the key locations that they wanted, they would never buy the book and they would never use it. So that drove the rest of the usage. The next thing that was the issue was no ability to do time-based offers. So can I actually get someone in on my car wash besides Saturday when it's not sunny? I need people in when I don't need business. I don't need people to roll in all the time. Number two, flooded by redemptions. A lot of talk about how do we move this to digital, how do we get it done, but you know what? At the time, they were all like, we don't want to be online. The reason we don't want to be online is because there's fraud. We can't control redemptions. We don't know how many there are. If you print a book, we know exactly how many coupons are actually out there. Number four, which is less of an issue today, limited purchaser information. So just hear it over and over and over again. The merchants say, look, we have no great way to collect it. There's limited CRM and business analytics. We just don't have the infrastructure in our shop to kind of really do all the things that we need to do in terms of like customer lifetime value. Number six, which was a real surprise at the time, fraud. Lots of stories that we talked with merchants where they'd say, look, you know, we have a restaurant coupon. What happens is the waiters and waitresses, sometimes they actually use the coupon, they void out the transaction, they give the coupon, and then they pocket the money. So they really needed a way to make sure that they couldn't be copied. Number seven, which was the biggest one, was training. Really impossible to get a uniform training program into these merchants. They just couldn't do it. To get like the hostess to do it at the time or any new employees or an employee-wide training program was very difficult. So I think with that setup, what I'm going to do is ask each of you guys to introduce yourselves. Why don't I start with you, Andrea?
Great, thank you.
And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you think.
All right, awesome, thanks. Hi, my name is Andrea Gilman. I work in product development for MasterCard worldwide. Many of you probably think of MasterCard as a payments company, but hopefully what you're starting to hear from Gary's talk and today is that we're more of a technology and data company that just happens to be in the payments business. In fact, my area in product development, what we're focused on is developing products and services for companies in the merchant-funded offer and daily deal space. And we're focusing on many of the pain points that Matt was just talking about, things like how do you get your business to scale and grow? How do you do tracking, measurement, ROI? And of course, because this is a two-sided market, how do you improve the experience for both the consumer and for the merchant?
Rebecca?
I'm Rebecca Watson. I'm from Radium 1. We're an ad network focused on the social media space. In short, we basically enable advertisers to reach users in the most highly engaging places on the web and on the mobile phone. We work with national advertisers and Fortune 500 brands like AT&T, Nike, Coke, etc. And what we do is we incentivize their offers. And so when a user is in a social media platform or a social community and they want more virtual currency or they want to send a virtual gift, they're able to then, mic on? They're able to complete an offer and also get currency. So the advertiser wins because they get a completion, a conversion on their offer. The publisher wins because they get paid a revenue share based on that fee that they were paid from the advertiser. And the user wins because he gets an offer and he gets some type of reward like virtual currency.
Mark?
Very good. Hi, everybody. My name is Mark Marinacci. I'm the other guy with the tie in the room and in good company. Great talk. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at a little company called edoInteractive, about 3 years old. And our brand has a very simple promise. We aspire to bring advertising and payments much, much closer together. And we do that through a very intuitive and unique technology that allows for us to digitize deal content, offers, rebates, deals, etc., and connect that directly to a user's current and top-of-wallet payment device, plastic, debit, credit, GPR, etc. So we can do this through large banking networks that are data-backed, which helps us increase relevance of deal, in addition to ease of redemption. And then we also do this through publishing networks, many of whom are represented here. So thanks for having us.
Let me start with you, Mark. So you mentioned moving things to a credit card. We actually had a very, I'll call it ambitious plan at Interactive Corp to run the entertainment book coupons through merchant terminals. We had a deal with a very large data provider that we were talking about at the time. And the issue was you'd send in a salesperson and you'd say, okay, convince them that they want a deal, which actually at the time, surprisingly, was not difficult. And then we'd say, okay, go to your merchant terminal, flip it over, read the mid number on the back, tell us the mid number, and then if it doesn't work, we're going to need to send someone in with a new merchant terminal. Have you guys, is that still how it is today? Or have you guys figured out a way to do credit card redemptions and make it a lot easier?
We've figured it out. So I think the short synopsis here is as follows. There's some sort of form and ubiquity across both what consumers use and what merchants use. And if you're going to build and foster a marketplace, ultimately those are the two constituents for whom you need to solve. And what we're able to do is understand across a terminal ID or a merchant ID and localize a deal down to that level. What user walks into what store? Does the user have a deal on? Does the merchant have participation in this network? And we can authorize it about 45 seconds after transaction and push the cash back to the user in near real time. So yes, we figured it out, and now it's about scaling the process.
So do you have anything to add to that? You guys see a ton of transactions, Andrea. You see these things roll through all the time. Hear a lot on both sides. Yes, it's figured out. Some it's more difficult. I think it depends on geography and the ISO that you're working with in the terminal. What do you see from your end, processing all those credit card transactions?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat and a lot of different technologies. Edo certainly has an elegant solution. There's things that can be done with other rebate formats. But there's just a lot of different ways. I think the thing that you hit on that's kind of key is that it takes time to change the merchant terminal.
Yeah, it was really hard. And on the national side, you see these kind of issues?
You know, we haven't launched the capability to marry sort of online and mobile with offline. So the majority of the interactions that users are completing are the initial either brand engagement, like watch a video and then sign up for a survey or a newsletter or something. Or there is cost per sale model that we have, but they're purchasing in an e-commerce platform or online or on the mobile phone. So we aren't necessarily driving them in store. But when we do drive them in store, it's the user is paid or rewarded based on that initial printing of a coupon or something.
So it was amazing. I remember when we did a ton of consumer research around this, and it was fascinating to see the number of consumers that actually said, look, what I really want is I don't want this book anymore. What I really want is I want you to put it on my credit card because I don't want to have to rip out the full page and go to Wolfgang Puck's and slide the thing across the table for the free cup of turtle soup. Like, I really want it on my credit card so it's seamless. Why hasn't that happened yet? Why does it seem like we're still talking about something that people have been trying to do for a while? There's very few kind of terminal deals out there. What's the holdup in the market? And I guess in addition to that, if there is no holdup, when are we going to see mass adoption of this? You want to go?
Sure. I'll start and then certainly look forward to the build. But there is a holdup. I think we're moving massive constituencies here, consumers and merchants, both large and small. So this isn't a easy or finite task, but I assure you it's happening. And I think coming out of the doldrums of the last 5 years, large financial institutions, associations, processors, folks are realizing that part of their core competency, very much apropos to what was just sort of shared, part of their core competency is data and connectivity between a consumer and a merchant. And when these large companies and brands start to move in this direction, meaningful and very material things happen. So it is happening. I think as somebody in the deals space, it's very important, I think, to note that the competitive set is not necessarily defined by the folks on slides shown here. The competitive set could be Citi, could be Ally Bank, could be all sorts of folks that foster commerce.
Actually, I think that's a good point. And even back when we were doing this many, many years ago and talking to financial institutions, they all got it. I mean, people here may not remember that American Express, back in 1996, I believe they had an equity stake or a very deep partnership with a company called Priya, which was owned by InfoSpace at the time. And the idea was to run this thing through Amex's merchant banks and do point-of-sale credit card transactions. So there's a bunch of existing IP. This has been around for a long time. I think the fact that we're not talking more about the merchant banks and the banking institutions and the folks that actually own like the real wallet and the credit card transactions, that's going to change really quickly as more people kind of do deals and gravitate towards it. What do you,
Yeah.
You're kind of biased because you work there, but what do you think?
I'm a little bit biased, but I think the other thing that has to be considered is, as Mark was saying, there's a lot of different constituents that need to be thought through. So, what does the consumer want? They want things that are immediate and they want things that are convenient. What does the merchant want? The merchant's looking to have a way to do a ubiquitous solution that they can track and that can get easy reporting on. I mean, things that are going on today, a lot of the merchants have these incredibly makeshift systems for how they do the tracking and reporting. I don't think that